Hey guys, this is Jekar with another battle report. This time I've got a 2,500 point game versus a new player, well, it's an old player but with a new army. He's got vampire counts. It's a pretty soft list, and I actually felt kind of bad for him once we got started. We rolled up Battle for the Pass, and we both deployed pretty much on the line, but you'll see that here in a second. Alright, so this first picture is a picture of the deployment. We've got um, starting from left to right, he's got 5 dire wolves, he's got 5 hex wraiths, he's got 20, I think, zombies with a Karn wraith and a tomb banshee in there. Next to those, he has 30 maybe skeletons. He's got his level 3 necromancer that has the trickster shard. The one that does the arcane item, the one that does wounds if you dispel him one turn, not the other's trickster shard. Next to them is the unit that has his Vampire Lord and his baby vamp in it. The Vampire Lord isn't Red Furied, it's Curse of the Revenant, Quick Blood, 2-up armor save, and I forget what his other, Obsidian Blade, so he ignores armor saves. Next we have a Necromancer on a corpse cart, and that guy has the Dispel Scroll. We've got 3 Vargheists, behind which is a Vargulf, 5 more Hex Wraiths, and then all the way at the top over there is 5 dire wolves. The terrain is kind of important. There's the blue little swampy thing is a mist-wreathed swamp, so we don't want to be stuck in there. The thing with the tree sticking out of it is Elven Waystone, I want to say. And there's a thing right in front of my lines. That's a charnel pit. We actually decided that that one was passable. The Waystone is impassable, but we decided that we didn't want that entire line to be impassable and break up the battle line, so we just said the charnel pit was passable and left it at that. Going on my deployment, again from left to right, I have 5 Wolf Riders. I think this is after Vanguards for me. I have 5 Wolf Riders with spears and short bows. I have a unit of 100 Night Goblins. They are 20 wide. I have a level 4 Goblin all the way in the left-hand corner. There's 3 Night Goblin big bosses sprinkled in there with additional hand weapons. And there's a Night Goblin BSB or a Goblin, excuse me, BSB right next to my Black Orc War Boss. The Goblin, of course, has a Spider Banner. The War Boss has Trickster's Helm, 5-up ward, Sword of Striking, and he's there to keep the unit moving, give me leadership 9. The unit, of course, has nets and short bows and some fanatics, but I forget about the fanatics, so we won't worry about them. Next, I have a unit of 8 trolls, 8 common trolls. I have an Arachnarok Spider making a cameo, Pump Wagon, unit of 20 regular goblins with a standard and musician. I have 2 orc shaman in there, both of them are level 2. The one on the left has the Dispel Scroll, and the other one is just naked. Have a unit of 5 Wolf Riders that you can kind of see. Have a Pump Wagon all the way over on the right, and then I have 2 Manglers. One is hiding behind the Howdah of the Arachnarok in this picture. The other is right in front of the building. And I have 2 Doom Divers back against the back of the board. So that's my deployment. And this is after his turn 1. He went ahead and got first turn. Everything pushed up really aggressively. The dire wolves are pushing up, I think, trying to get to my war machines through my goblin wolf riders. The hex wraiths are converging upon my trolls, and I told him that after the game I said, I knew that hex wraiths had flaming attacks, and then I put my trolls down and was like, oh, I just went through combat resolution, herpa herpa. So then of course he moved him up, and I thought, oh well, that's gonna suck. So the hex wraiths are gonna be terrible, but I have a plan for them, so we'll see how that goes. You may notice that my spider is missing, and again, remember I said he made a cameo. First turn, he miscast with the Necromancer on the Corpse Cart, which was a level 1 that had Lore of Death, and it rolled a 6. So he Purple Sunned 30 inches right through that hole between my Trolls and the Hex Wraiths, and hit the Spider, and the Spider failed his initiative test and disappeared, fueling. And then he rolled 7 dice because I had 7 wounds left at that point, and he got 5 of those dice back. So it was kind of a sucky day to be me. On my turn 1, I actually was attempting to do something sneaky. I charged my war boss out of the unit into the hex wraiths, and I needed a 7 or an 8, and I knew that was kind of ballsy, but I thought that I had to be able to stop them from killing my trolls, or I was going to be fighting this entire game with only a single combat block. And I just didn't think that was going to go very well. So I charged the war boss out. I declared my wog. Then I didn't make it. So I kind of hung my head in shame. Then I compulsory move. I moved the manglers backwards to try and use them later in the game. And the pump wagon needed a 15, and it got a 14. So it again was an inch short. I thought maybe if I threw it in the flank, it could. What am I thinking? If I threw it in the flank, maybe I could win through combat res. Maybe he'd fail to hit a wound or something. I'd win by combat res and crumble them and at least keep them there. But no, it didn't work. On the upside, he was blocked between those 2 fails. He was blocked from charging my trolls. He could move over those guys, but that's okay. And my general doesn't really have a downside. I mean, he can't charge me with the hex wraiths because I have a magic weapon. And there's nothing else really that's going to threaten me. So there's no downside to that other than I just failed that charge. In this picture, you can just see what I did in the rest of my turn. I moved the goblins up and failed to kill any of the dire wolves with shooting. I moved my horde up just a little bit. Actually, no, I didn't move my horde up. He had moved the Vargeists up fairly aggressively, and so I just shot him off. I did like 20-something poison wounds. It was pretty ridiculous. I used Gaze of Vindictive Glare. I almost said Gaze of Nagash. I used Vindictive Glare to kill 1 unit of Hex Wraiths, so that's down. This other one's kind of taken care of. So things are looking kind of good. I'm clearing up some chaff. I'm just worried about those dire wolves and my wolf riders, but I checked, and luckily the overrun is not going to take them into that level 4, which is very excellent. I didn't want to get sniped that way. So his turn 2, he's still playing really not defensively, or yeah, pretty defensively, not very aggressively at all. He moves up just a little bit. His hex wraiths fly over his dire wolves charge my wolves, and actually we push. He fails to do any wounds. I fail to do any wounds. He wins on the charge, and I roll double 1s, so I stick, and that becomes the pillow fight of the century. The Vargeist moves up, and I'm not really sure why, or the Vargulf, excuse me, moves up, and I'm not really sure why. I'm not sure what it's doing. I guess he thought that my general was going to stay out there and try to win. The hex wraiths flew over him and plinked a wound off. In Magic, I let him raise some zombies up there. I should mention, I didn't mention, in my turn 1, I Doom Divered the corpse cart guy off the table, which was great. Then the purple sun went away, and now I don't have to worry about it anymore. His wolves attacked and destroyed my pump wagon, and so there they are, and I'm thinking, oh, I'll just get my other pump wagon into them, no big deal. And you can see my trolls are still kind of hiding. Yeah, here's just a picture of my opponent giving the thumbs up for this epic fail fight. 5 wolf riders versus 5 dire wolves. 60 points versus 80 points, and pretty much we're just pillow fighting it out. This is my turn 2. You can see I didn't really move hardly anything. The trolls moved back a little. I moved to redirect the hex wraiths with my wolf riders. And you'll notice that the dire wolves are gone, and so is my pump wagon and most of my goblin unit. What happened was I moved my level 4 out of the unit. He's out of Gaze of Nagash range. I don't think he can power it up. Either that or I just figured I'd dispel it and eat whatever was happening. I used my level 4 to... I tried Vindictive Glare and he blocked it. So I threw 6 dice at foot. Oh, I'm sorry. I also cast Gift of the Spider God on my big poison unit. And I threw Bigfoot at the Hex Wraiths. I failed to kill one. Then I rolled a 1, And rather than put it on my big horde, which is what I thought he was going to do, he put it on the small unit that had all my characters, which actually, in retrospect, wasn't a terrible idea, especially because the dire wolves were pretty close. The pump wagon actually went through that swamp, failed its dangerous terrain, and exploded, so that was sad. My general went back into the unit, and then that unit with its 5-up poison did like 30 poison wounds to the Vargulf, and it couldn't just regen all of those, obviously. You see my trolls ran away, and the dire wolves actually got doom divered off, which I was very happy for. 6 goblins plus 2 casters were not going to enjoy getting attacked by that unit. This is the start of his turn 3, and I know all these pictures are starting to look the same. He moved some stuff around, shuffled, didn't really do a whole lot. We're still having a pillow fight up there in the top uh, of the picture with those wolves and dire wolves. Actually, this round I killed 2, and I killed 3, and I passed my fear check, and I killed 3, and he killed 1, or 2, so then he crumbled by another one, so it's 2-3 up there. So it's getting bloody at least finally. You can see the Hex Wraith moved over. He didn't feel like charging the trolls because he'd have to do he needed a wound exactly not to crumble. I don't understand why he didn't just charge and try it anyway, because I'm just going to charge him on my turn. He killed a wolf rider, nobody cares. Um, I'm in Magic. I think he cast Curse of Year. He tried to cast Curse of Years, and I scrolled it. Um, really, just I'm able to shut his magic down. I'm letting him get off like gaze on stuff and he's like rolling really poorly, and so magic is really a non-event for him, which is sad when he has like 4 wizards. So in my turn 3, I reform the wolf riders. I should have actually put them a little farther up, but right now there's an 8-inch overrun into my bunker unit with 2 wizards. I just figured, it's kind of a long charge, 8 or 9 into them, and then it's 8 or 9 into the bunker. I'll take that. The trolls charged the Hex Wraith. It did a wound to 1, but I had charge and a rank, and its horse didn't wound, so I crumbled it and then reformed because I didn't feel like overrunning. You see my Manglers moving up finally. My big horde just shot I think I shot some skeletons or something. It wasn't a huge big deal. Oh, and I should mention that finally the dire wolves beat and ran down my night goblins. There's 1 dire wolf left, so I don't know. I'll call that a win. I mean, again, it held up for 4 rounds of combat when it shouldn't have happened at all. So vampire turn 4. He still not very aggressive with his main blocks. He does get the zombies with the 2 characters into my depleted unit. He makes the 8 or 9-inch charge into the wolves, and excuse me, and then he makes the 8 or 9 into that unit. And I'm thinking, well, that's fine. I'll throw the Mangler through there if I have to. That'll be okay. And then I realize that the trolls can see his flank, which is what I'm measuring here right now at the end of his turn. So that's just not going to go well. And his only other unit is that dire wolf, who he charged the Doom Diver and failed. He needed a 8 or something and failed on Swift Stride. So at least something went right for me this turn. But everything's starting to really look my way. So my turn 4, I wheel the horde and just keep shooting. The back of his General's Crypt unit is actually dead. There's, I think, 10 or 11 or something that are just kind of hanging out. He's just leaving them there so he doesn't have to take them off and put them back on. Uh, there's really just some shooting going on in there. The level 4s, gazing and all that. In Magic, I charged, of course, the flank of that unit with the Wraith and the Banshee. In Magic, I got off Fist of Gork, and he let it through, which I'm kind of surprised about, but uh, whatever. And so I challenged with that wizard because if he had declined, I could have moved the Banshee to the back, and my trolls could have went to town. Or I could have moved the Wraith to the back and not had any issues. But he accepted with the Wraith. He did 1 wound to me. I did no wounds to him because I failed Fear and I failed all 4 of my attacks. I was really looking forward to beat him up a little bit with some Fists of Gork. But of course, the trolls and the goblins got a couple kills in. The trolls just wrecked face, and it was down to the Banshee and the Karn Wraith, and they did 1 or 2 wounds. And of course, I crumbled them, and that's my reform. That was my turn. His turn 5. Again, he's playing really conservatively, which I don't understand. He decides he didn't want to charge me, double charge me. He said he was worried that I would just crumble all his characters. Um, and I kind of asked, why does it matter? You're gonna lose anyway. Um, if I charge you, and he agreed, but he didn't feel like that was worth it, and that's fair. The Doom Wolf, Dire Wolf, yeah, the Dire Wolf actually makes it into my Doom Diver, but the Doom Diver crew kills it. It loses none. I think he actually fluffs his to wound roll, and then I kill it outright. So that's nice. Um, and so everything's looking. It's down to just those 2 units, so things are looking grim for him. This is my turn. I guess this is my turn 5. I'm not sure. I think I missed a turn somewhere. But in this turn, I shoot all of my shots and kill all of the crypt ghouls. My Doom Divers don't do any wounds there. My Manglers are coming up to be a nuisance. I failed both charges with the Trolls and the Goblins because the Goblins with the characters are actually in the flank of that unit, and I thought, yeah, I can probably make that work. Um, and my Night Goblins actually failed to charge into. No, I must not have shot them. Then I don't know what I did. I must have gazed them or footed them or something because I remember I tried to charge and I failed all 3 charges this turn, which, if you're counting, has means that I have only ever completed 1 charge, and it was a charge of the Trolls into the flank. It were 2. I'm sorry, 2 charges. Both of them were charges that the Trolls could physically not fail. The Night Goblins needed like a 9, needed a 9 total, so I needed a 5 to show up, and they failed. Earlier, my general needed, like an 8. The Orcs needed a 10, but the Trolls only needed like a 6, and they failed as well. So things just not going my way as far as charges go. As you can see, the game is well in hand. This is actually the only picture I have of turn 6, and I didn't realize how blurry it was, so I apologize for that. I actually, in his turn, he split his characters up, left them within um, 18 inches. He was going to try and Curse of Years me, which he did do, and pulled off the back rank of my horde. Um, I couldn't make any and he backed everything up. I couldn't make any charges, although I tried. Um, and failed again. And then my Mangler went through both characters and the unit of skeletons. I killed the baby vamp. The Lord vamp is alive on 1 wound, and obviously the skeletons don't care that anything bad happened. And so that is actually the end of the game. You can guess that he killed an Arachnarok, 2 units of 5 Wolf Riders, and some Pump Wagons. You can guess that I killed way more points than that. And so that'll be a massacre to the Orcs and Goblins. So, just some closing thoughts that I learned. This is one of my first games against undead, or I should say against vampire counts with Orcs and Goblins. And I learned a couple things that I really didn't know. The first is, and I should have known this, but undead are squishy. Um, I guess I was thinking that they're all crypt horrors, or they're all uh, what are terror guys. They have toughness 6, or they all have 5 up regen or something. But most of them were toughness 3 or 4, and very low save. And so it was really easy for me to pick that army apart with mine, especially once I got rid of all the chaff and stuff, um, which was very good. And I don't necessarily think that that was just luck. I mean, I like to think that I was intelligent enough to pick the chaff apart to realize that the hex race were going to be a nuisance, jump on my squigs for no gain and stuff like that. But ultimately, uh, they were just squishy, and it was easy to deal with once I could actually, hit them or shoot at them. In the case of the hex race, once I could get into them, they would die pretty quickly. Um, this game also elucidated for me that Magic is really fickle. His last couple turns, he got like 4 dice. His 4th turn, he failed Curse of Years. He had a level 1 casting it, and he rolled 4 dice and got like a 6 or something. It was really ridiculous. And so, Magic is really fickle. I obviously won, but a lot of my winning was due to the Magic phase. A lot of it was, was the way that I managed to just throw a bunch of high priority spells out there. There was always Foot whenever I had a bunch of dice he had to watch out for. So he had to let Gift of the Spider God or Vindictive Glare through. But he also had to worry because several times I stole Dispel dice from him, making it that much harder. So he was kind of up against the ropes. And in contrast, his Magic phases, while scary, like I said, the last 3 where the game really went to pot had to do with a lot with Magic. And I think part of it also was his perhaps inexperience with the army. Like I said, he's new. As you can tell, a lot of his stuff is unpainted. Um, but he just, I don't think, prioritized his own spells right. I think he frequently was trying to Curse of Years me or Gaze of Nagash stuff, and he just needed more dice. He also didn't have time to invocation anything. He was throwing a bunch of dice, and I was dispelling. So really, I didn't feel that bad about it. I didn't feel like I played badly in the Magic phase, and I felt like maybe he needs to learn what's up in the Magic phase. Uh, Third, charging is hard. Apparently, recall I didn't make a charge that was possible for me to fail. I made 4 or 5 or 6 charges that were possible for me to fail, and I failed every one of them on 5s or 4s, even a 6. And again, the war boss had like a 9 or an 8, and the goblins the one time had a 10, but I figured I was due one really long distance charge, and I didn't really get it. So I don't know. When I first started playing 8, I would wait until it was almost a sure charge. I'd wait until it was 4 or 5 inches for the charge distance, and I've been playing, more fast and loose, 7 to 8 kind of deal. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to change my tactics or if I'm just going to have to pay more attention, because in this game it didn't bite me. But if I had been playing so fast and loose against, like a skink list, that could have really bitten me. My general probably could have bit the big one just because he failed that charge that I was pretty confident he was going to make. Fourth, I based this list very closely on the South Coast GT winner. I know him by Tex. They talk about him on the Bad Dice podcast, if I recall correctly. And this list was super mean, and I didn't think that the vampire list was going to be so soft. I saw it, and I didn't expect the guy on the corpse cart. I didn't expect a vampire without Red Fury and what am I thinking? Quick Blood and the +2 strength sword and all that. I really figured I was going to fight the Blender Lord and you know a bunch of Can Wraiths or whatever. And so I was like, man, this is going to be really rough. And then I got that list, and he didn't play aggressively, which I'll talk about in a second. And so I just was really able to pew pew him to death, which made for kind of probably a boring game for him, honestly. He didn't really feel like he had much of a choice once I had killed all the chaff. And then finally, along those lines, we were talking after the game, and he was saying that once I had killed all of his chaff, that he really felt like the game turned in my favor. And so I told him that I think that perhaps if that was the case, he should play more aggressively and attack me while, like, use chaff more effectively and then attack me while I am being diverted. While he can get his combat blocks in, while I'm using my magic phase to foot or vindictive glare hex race because I can't deal with them in combat. He should have got his units in and started beating me up before I could afford to put combat buffs on them. And he didn't necessarily agree. He also didn't necessarily disagree. But that was kind of what I thought. I thought that maybe he should have played more aggressively, since I, of course, outranged him as he had a single Banshee Scream. Um, I don't really have anything else other than that. Obviously, he's learning, and so I don't take great pride in the victory. Of course, the fight's a good one. Any day that an orc gets to fight, an orc is happy, and so I is happy. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any comments, let me know in the aptly named comment section. If you have any suggestions, let me know. And if you like the content, please subscribe. Hope you have a good weekend for me right now, but whenever you're listening to it, I hope you have a good rest of the day.